the vision take hold, turning late round flyers into Detroit gold. He's the master of the board, the dealer of the deck, putting every expert opinion in check. Put every expert opinion in check. He doesn't follow trends, he creates the hook. Quiet in the room, let Brad cook. To the trenches we swear, where the dirty work's done, where the game isn't played, it's physically won. I promise to roar till my vocal cords fray, to believe in the homes and the Brad chosen way. We don't want the flash, we don't want the glitz, just the hunters who thrive in the heart of the grit. Liberty from the cellar, and justice for the years of pain. No more same old lions, just the kings of the northern reign. I pledge my allegiance, my heart and my roar, to the team that we love and the team we adore. With kneecaps for breakfast and victory in sight, we're the Detroit Lions and we're winning tonight.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Get started here in just 1 second. Just got to update a file real quick. And we're going to get off and running. So, very interesting day yesterday. Obviously, Eric will be with us this morning. We're going to break down the injuries, going to kind of break down what has been happening. Thoughts, process on Dan Campbell. Is he really on a hot seat? Is Brad Holmes on a hot seat? Is the season over before it began? You know, it's going to be a doom and a gloom kind of a Tuesday, and then we'll bring it all back around to some happy notes. All right, let's get rolling here. Good morning, Eric, man. How you been? What's been happening with you? How's the last few weeks gone?
Yeah, vacation was awesome. We won money at every casino we went to. Got to see my kid for a couple days. Went to the world's longest yard sale. We did all sorts of. We went to 7 different states, and yeah, we had a blast. We stayed in a 1800s Victorian train car. We stayed in like $1 million cargo container house, like luxury resort house. It was pretty awesome. It was a great vacation. Got to get away from Michigan for a little while and just get away from things for a bit.
Oh, it's always needed, man. I'm glad that you and the wife had some fun. So, son doing well out there with Iowa, right?
Yeah, in Iowa, yeah. Assistant manager at a Harbor Freight, so doing really well out there.
There you go. Get yourself some discounts on some tools, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. No, he uses my phone number because I have the Inside Track Club.
Uh-huh.
So anytime anybody doesn't have it, he uses my phone number to give them the discount.
I don't know if you get points. I don't really buy at Harbor Freight, but
yeah, you don't get points. I wish you did, man. I'd rack up 1 million points. Oh,
right,
that'd be awesome.
Good morning, to everybody out there, man. Again, I hope you're all having a wonderful Monday morning, or Tuesday morning, excuse me. I know it's been kind of a rough go here over the last several days. I mean, a lot of injuries to report. It's that kind of a season right now where there's questions. And
check your volume, Will.
Yep. Oh yeah. Let me make sure the auto gain is off. Left it on after you reset. Anyway, there's a lot of questions with my microphone. Hold on.
Yeah, mine turned up to 86, so I just fixed mine as well.
All right. We're going back to where we need to be. All right. We should be good now. So anyway, there's been a lot of questions, complaints. I mean, the complaint department, when I filed my complaint over what just happened with Cade Mays, they sent me back complaint department full. We don't give an F. What you think? Because there's just a lot of negativity out there. There's just a lot of toxicity out there, and And quite honestly, that's kind of where this channel has been from the very beginning, is to try to root out a lot of that, but we also keep it honest. We keep it, we keep the truth, the transparency there, but we also have honest opinions. It's not Brad glazing. It's not, juggling Dan's massive sack. It's just, this is how we feel, this is how we feel, whether it's good or bad, right or wrong, or any indifference. I can't hit every prediction. I get probably more than anybody else, but hey, it's just what this show is all about, man. It's called life. And that's what we have to remember about these players too, is this is the game of life. Crap is going to happen, man. If you left 5 minutes earlier to work today, would you have hit that deer that maybe you didn't see because you left 5 minutes late? Possibly, right? You don't know. You have no idea. I'll give you guys the rumor, the name that I heard with the whole Cade Mays injury. I don't think that they have released anything. Again, this is an absolute rumor. Absolute rumor. Could be completely wrong. Ali McNeil is the one that had the overhand double chop, from what I'm hearing, which means that he would have been pushed inside. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's possible because Aleem usually runs a 3-tech. Could be Tyleik Williams then, if he was at the nose. Either way, does it really matter? Like, that's what I saw all day yesterday, Eric. Like, who did it? Who injured Cade? Fire him, get him off the team. Like, come on, are we serious right now? Like stuff is gonna happen, and at least it's only 8 to 10 weeks, and we're August 10th or 9th when this happens. We've had a couple of players that have gone through broken wrist. Alex Anzalone came back and played well, and then we lost Amik Robertson at the tail end of the season in 24. Then he came back and played in 25 just fine. So they've been through this stuff before. They know how to manage it. They know how to handle it. Cade will be back. And I think that's where I want to start after we get your initial, comments, whatever you want to say about the situation. That's where I want to start, is with the 2026 season and why this season is not lost.
Well, this season isn't lost, I don't think, quite yet, but God darn it, am I worried about 2026 right now.
I mean, I think a lot of people are worried, man. They're worried, but I think there's a difference with being worried and then also like just throwing everybody under the bus. And that's why I went on that rant yesterday. Like I was, my heart rate was up all night. I don't usually get that. I'm not like an angry person, right? I don't get all bent out of shape. I mean, I might get a little hyped up here or there, and I'm not like some boring guy, but I'm just, I have good EQ. I manage emotions well. So I just, yesterday I kind of lost it because it's the same rhetoric that I've been seeing for so long. And now it's back into the fold again. And so I had to say my piece that, for all the people that didn't watch the rant yesterday, I posted it as a video last night, got some good reviews from it. And I was just being honest. For those of you that said practicing was the problem, well, guess what? Only one injury is at the behest of practicing. All of of contact practice. I should make that clear. Of contact during practice. Every other injury, the other 16 injuries that the Lions have gone through since the start of OTAs, have been non-contact injuries. So you have to make the math make sense that if Dan is reduce the type of practice heat, the level, the intensity, then you're going to get more injured, in my opinion. And then I don't think stretching is going to take care of it. They should be doing that anyway. I think that they need to manage their bodies, better. But then again, if you look around the league, like the Lions are not the only team going through this. There is a ton of teams right now that just have a rash of injuries. It's normal for training camp to get bumps and bruises. But I think the one thing that I wanted to really drive home in yesterday's rant was if you come into camp soft, expect more injuries. And what did the Lions do? They got rid of rookie camp because a lot of people complained. And I honestly feel, Eric, that the public outcry from the fan base and the local pockets of toxic media just driving this and saying that Dan's to blame, maybe that got to him. You heard Dan and Brad in the offseason say that they're going to look at everything. The way they practiced, they wanted to get back to 22, 23. They wanted to do things differently. They wanted to bring in competition. And then there's also something else that I had mentioned that, when you have young, inexperienced guys playing next to vets or next to, other young, inexperienced guys, more injuries happen. These guys are trying to prove themselves. They're trying to earn a spot on a roster. They're making mistakes, and those mistakes can lead to injuries. Thankfully, those haven't happened. But Cade Mays suffers the first major contact injury of the season for the Lions. And it's not, the first major offensive lineman injury. Tristan Wirfs, he had his triceps ripped apart exactly like Davenport's. So how do you think they're feeling over there? Right? They just lost a player that has been a generational tackle for them. So anything you want to say before I get into schedule?
I realize that it's happening to every other team, but it just seems that for some reason our team, listen, we've had the most missed games of any team over the last 5 seasons by like 100 games or something more than every other team. It's just, when is this Lions effing injury curse going to stop? And that's the way I feel as a fan. When is this going to stop? I just want a healthy camp. I just want to go into a season healthy one time, make it through a season with just a couple of guys going to injured reserve, and not have a friggin' MASH unit and the Legion of Whom out there on offensive and defense every year. You look at the injuries, and, multiple starters are out for part of the season, most of the season, or all of training camp. I mean, you got Cade Mays, Isaiah Pacheco, you got Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, and then we didn't even get through OTAs, and Kendrick Law blows his ACL, our rookie 5th round pick that I didn't want Brad to take. And, to me as a fan, it gets really exhausting before the season even starts. How can you expect the Detroit Lions to go 13-4 or 14-3 with 4 of their major starters, 2 on offense, 2 on defense? They're out already. How the heck how can you do that? You only have 22 starters, right? Offensive 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and you have 4 of them out already. That kills your team. It really, really does. I just want to be one of the healthier teams in the NFL for one friggin' season. Is that too much to ask?
Look, I don't think it's too much to ask. I mean, but I will be honest and say that I think it's too much to ask, because no team is ever going to enter a regular season fully healthy. It's never happened. It'll never happen. And to add some layers of context to this, I think that we have to understand that Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph can't be included in anything that is transpired. But to your point, saying that we have 4 starters out, there's 2, right? Well, Pacheco's a backup, but he is a starter as well. I mean, I consider him it's 1A, 1B, because it's a 1-2 punch, and he will start some games. He will, come in as reserve in some games. He might play more snaps in some games. But either way, he is a starter. He was brought in to be a starter in case something did happen, to Jahmyr Gibbs. God willing, that doesn't happen. But so to your point, add this layer of context that Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, I don't think we can include them in this conversation. And that's when I did my full 4-year breakdown yesterday, looking back at all the injuries that the Lions have faced since 2023. The reason why I did that is because 23 is our best season. So what is a better season to compare it to than what happened in 24 and 25, and then everyone complaining in 25 that the Lions are practicing too hard. So that's the information that I put together, and that's what I came with. And let me see if I still have a little slideshow up, and I'll just kind of go through it real quick. In yesterday's study, I showed everybody this yesterday. I posted it up on Twitter. Let me pause this stupid thing from moving. So here you go. Detroit Lions practice injury study. Again, 23, 24, 25, 26. The new offseason or training camp injuries. Offseasons, obviously OTAs, mini camps, rookie mini camps. We had 9 new injuries in 23, 24 or 10 in 24, 13 in 25, and we have 17 in 2026. We have 4 more injuries, and we are still just about 3 weeks away from cut day. About 18 days away or so from cut day. And we already have 4 more injuries than we had all of last season. We have 7 more injuries than we had in 2024. And those were the 2 most injured seasons for the Lions in recent history. And so what I'm taking from this, Eric, in a positive light, what I'm taking away from this is simple. If we are suffering all this little ticky-tack stuff now, because a lot of it's ticky-tack, there's a couple of major injuries, a lot of it's ticky-tack, then maybe we're on the right trajectory to staying healthy in season. The whole thing about playing, starters in the preseason, someone questioned me in one of the comments, and they said that I would be the first clown to say that the Lions shouldn't play in preseason. I've actually said the exact opposite. It depends. Right? It really depends on, even to Dan's point, it depends on the level of practice that you're getting, in each and every camp day and where the starters are developed. But here's my official take on players playing in the preseason as starters. If you're going up against a team that is going to put in their second, third, and fourth stringers against your starters, I don't want my starters in there. I mean, you would think that when you think about it, like, well, of course you do, Will. You're going up against a lesser quality opponent, and you're just going to beat them up. Well, then what did that do? If you're going to put starters in the preseason, then you need to have communication with the other team, which this happens every year, and say, hey, I'm playing my starters for the first couple of possessions. Can you or will you do the same? And if they say, no, we don't plan on it, don't play your starters. Because it's not going to do you any good going up against lower quality tier. I mean, the only good that would do is, you're going to get out there and get your landmarks down, right? You're going to get into the swing of things. You're going to be hitting some live bodies. Like, that stuff is all beneficial. But I think where it falls apart and where it becomes non-beneficial is now you got guys that are trying to make a roster. Remember that. They're trying to make themselves heard across the world. And they're trying to lay that boomstick on someone, and you don't want your starters put in harm's way for that reason. And I think that's why Dan has not put the starters in preseason games, because he knows those players are trying to make a name for themselves. And that's when, it's unorganized still. You got young players that don't know what they're doing. They haven't learned all the choreograph yet, right? It's a big dance out there that they're trying to learn, especially in the trenches. And those corners, man, they want to erase you when you catch a pass. Those linebackers, they want to take your head off when you're coming through the middle. So it is absolutely not worth the risk. Defensively, I think it is a better risk because defensive players playing downhill are less apt to get injured, but there's still going to be shoulder injuries, concussions, a lot of time, or even knee injuries that are going to come out of that. My biggest fear is, a guy like Derek Barnes is out there in a preseason game and someone does a low crackback block on him again. So there's levels to the game. And I think that when you say, yep, I'd love to have my guys in preseason, I think you need to identify, is the other team doing the same? And what kind of communication are you having with the other team and the coach about how this glorified practice is going to go? Agree, disagree? What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, I think the Detroit Lions need to play their starters and for more than just one 3-and-out series, especially on offense, because look what happened in the Green Bay game last year. You get to Green Bay and we look totally lost. The offense had no communication. They had no sense of doing this before. They didn't look smooth. They didn't look like they were a well-oiled machine. And you can't oil the machine unless you put some oil on those gears. So you have to get in a little bit of live action before the season starts. I don't care. Injuries be damned. You have to put your starters out for a little bit. And it sounds like Dan's going to do it this year.
Not this week. He's already
No.
said it's not happening.
Yeah, not this week. He said possibly next week.
So I mean, we'll see where it goes. But again, I think that what happens if you put these guys out there? And again, I'm not against it. I think that there needs to be clear communication. Are you putting your ones out or are you not putting your ones out? You know, are you going to put a few of your ones out? You try to match their intensity. You try to match their roster. That way you have a good practice, you know, for a couple of possessions. I don't think they need to go beyond a lot of that. You're not going to install a lot. It's all going to be vanilla anyway. It's just going to get them just a little bit of action going up against other players. That's it. You really can't go out there and put your playbook in, because if you do, then other teams are going to see what you're doing. So in this case, what happens in week 2 if Dan Campbell decides to put his starters out there and we lose 2 more starters? What happens if we lose Jahmyr Gibbs? What happens if we lose Jamison Williams or Amon-Ra St. Brown? What happens if Jared Goff takes a wicked hit and breaks his arm? Because he won't play for a full year if that happened.
Well, he's either going to do it in the preseason or he's going to do it in week 1.
No, that's not always true. I mean, I think that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So preseason games, you've got players that want to make a name for themselves, and that ball has already been released, and they're going to carry through the hit, and they carry through, and Jared Goff goes down.
You were talking about the other team being a match and talking to the other coach. So Dan Quinn from the Commanders, perfect. He's just like Dan Campbell. They're 2 peas in a pod. Get together, talk about it, make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's what it takes. I think it takes a good organization speaking to another organization and coming up with a plan. Look, I think bubble wrap, you can't do it. I mean, just listen to the rant. You can't do it. You can't put these players in bubble wrap. But at the same time, I think you have to be careful how you expose your team to the additional injury, because, look, they play a 17-game season already. Why would you make them play 20? If you're concerned about practice, not you, but everybody else, if they're concerned about practice in training camp, then tell me how it even makes sense to put them in a preseason game, because that's just a training camp game with a lot more intensity. I mean, that's what it is. It's a giant training camp scrimmage with a ton more intensity. And I think that injuries could be a lot worse. Let's talk about the schedule. Let's do that right when we get back.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from UperLights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights, with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit UperLights.com for all your UV flashlight needs, with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from UperLights.com.
Okay. Schedule. People are talking about the season being over, Eric. And we haven't even played a game yet. We don't even know who's going to be out there in week 1, because week 1 is not here. But here's what I'm going to say definitively. If let's say Cade Mays gets back, we have a bye week in week 6 this year. Let's say Cade is back week 7. That'll be end of October. And quite honestly, that's where I'm expecting it to be.
So either Packers or Vikings game.
Yeah, but Packers. I mean, having him back for those games, I think, is going to be critical, and it all depends on how Seth McLaughlin and Juice Scruggs handle the center position. Now, Seth McLaughlin has made this roster no matter what. Juice Scruggs has made this roster no matter what. So this injury changes things. And Seth had a good day, and we'll get into all that. But I want to dip into the schedule and explain why I am less concerned about what the Lions are facing in the, well, hey, that didn't work out, in the early part of the season here. Because if you just look at, which you're going to see here in just a sec, but if you look at our schedule, like what are we worried about right now? Look, the Saints were coming on last year, a little bit towards the end of the season. and they've rebuilt this year, and they're becoming a better team. But we go Saints, Bills, Jets, Panthers, and Cardinals before Week 6 bye. And if Cade Mays is back by Week 7, fan-frickin-tastic. That is, 9 to 10 weeks from his injury. If we can't go out and beat the Saints, beat the Jets, beat the Panthers, and beat the Arizona Cardinals at a minimum, and be 4-1 at the break, saying that maybe we drop one to the Bills, then we're in trouble. If it's bad, if it's the other way around. But there is no reason that we can't go beat all of these teams just because we're missing one starter, possibly two more, Branch, Kirby, but one starter on offense. Our offense should be able to go hang 40, 50 points on almost all these teams. What do you think?
The Saints really came on at the end of the year last year, so don't count them out. They have a second-year quarterback that's really coming on. The Bills game, Bills are opening their new stadium. Even though the fans are complaining about all the obstructed views, they're still going to be rabid. It's still going to be quite the game. Panthers won their division last year. So I think those 3 games are going to be the toughest 3 games out of that little spell. I think the Jets and the Cardinals are going to be the 2 easier games of those 5 games. And then you have your bye. But listen, don't count the Panthers, the Saints, or the Bills out. The Lions could easily go 5-0. They could easily go 2-3. It all depends. Is Seth McLaughlin going to come on and do a fantastic job while Cade Mays is out? What if he falls apart? What if Juice Scruggs is too injured to come in for Seth McLaughlin? There's a lot of variables here, and I'm not counting anybody out. I'm not saying anybody's going to suck or be great or be a Hall of Famer. It's just we have to be prepared for anything right now. We saw what happened when our center sucked last year.
I hear you saying that. Graham really didn't suck that bad. He really didn't. If you go back and look at his play, the way that he his grades in each game, forget PFF. We take into consideration the fact that it was a nightmare for that offensive line and Johnny Moe. It was a nightmare. They were so discombobulated that offensive line was having so many issues with communication, and that starts at the top. That started with Johnny Moe. I think Hank Fraley did the best job he could. And you have to look at, it was, to your point earlier, like kind of a mash unit on that offensive line throughout bits and pieces of last year. Taylor Decker wasn't himself. You had a rookie at right guard. Penei Sewell played well, but he had spurts where he was, banged up a little bit. Multiple games last year he was on the ground. And then at left guard, I think we started with Mahogany, right? And I don't know. And he got injured. So I'm not going to blame everything on Glasgow. Was he the answer? No. I think he was a fixture going forward. Wanted to try to keep things the same for the offensive line last year. But that maybe,
I don't think Graham Glasgow had his heart in playing center last year. He said as much. He wanted to play left guard. He did not want to play center. He did it because he was a good soldier. Now, Look now. Is Graham Glasgow playing for any NFL team right now?
He was considering retirement the year before, though. And so I don't think that
he hasn't announced his retirement.
No, and that's, maybe he's, and he can retire and unretire, but, maybe he's just sticking around just in case. Who knows? Maybe Graham Glasgow is going to be back on this team here in the next few days. I mean, I've also heard everyone talking about Frank Ragnow and, hey, Frank, how's the hamstring? Hey, Frank.
Yeah, right.
Come on, people. Like, if that happened, one, I'd be ecstatic. But Frank hasn't played ball in 2 years. And he just came off a massive hamstring injury. His body would be in great shape.
And he didn't
you would
have
hope.
surgery.
In what?
He did not have surgery on that groin.
Well, you're hoping that it healed, right?
And it was a grade 3 tear.
So maybe it healed funny. Maybe he's got a knot in there. where it's healed. So how did he not have surgery on a grade 3? Because that's a full thickness tear.
I don't know. That you would think he'd have to be able to walk.
You would think. So when I look at the schedule, kind of where we started here, I guess I'll start with the Bills. Start with the Bills. Bills are 12-5 last year. Did they get better in 26? Yes. Are they a Super Bowl contender? Yes. Panthers, they were 8-9, so they had a worse record than we did with a better schedule. But they ended up being the NFC South champs because the NFC South sucked. Did they get better in 26? Maybe if their offensive line survives. Are they a division contender? Possibly. The Saints, they were 6-1 last season. I think that they're one of the teams that could probably pull a first, or worst to first kind of situation. Did they get better in 26? Substantially. They did. Are they an NFC South sleeper? Probably. The Jets, 3-11. I absolutely expect the Jets to kind of flip that record. I think that they're going to have at least 10 wins this year. I think they're really gonna bounce back, but I don't think that they're gonna get the better of Dan Campbell in their first meeting. Much more talented roster. They've made some significant improvements this season. Cardinals, 3-14. Did they get better? Yeah, but have you seen their practices? They look terrible. Absolutely terrible. I just did a funny post the other day on Twitter where I kept popping up Drew Petzing because everyone was blaming Drew Petzing for that offense when he was. Petzing was the engine to kind of keeping that offense together. The fact that he brought Trey McBride from where he did as a rookie to his third year, shattering records, was incredible, but he was like the only man left on the offense as a weapon. And then he took Wilson from a third-year player drafted in the third round and pumped up his stats to 1,000 yards and 7 TDs last year. Had an incredible breakout year. And he did that without a true running game last year. Connor was gone. Greg Dortch was injured. And I forget the other... Was it a DeMarcado or something? I think he was injured. And I forget the other receivers' names, but they didn't have anybody out there. Yeah, they were 3-14. That is not what this team's going to be. I expect the Cardinals to be a little bit better, but not much. Not much at all. They don't look good at all. I think the biggest addition for the Bills, they brought in DJ Moore. And I think that's a significant weapon for Josh Allen. So that does call into question our ability in the secondary without Branch, without Kirby, hopefully DJ Reed back. Yeah, I got questions there. That is going to be a tough game. It's going to be an extremely tough game. But we've played this team before with a banged up roster. What wasn't it? Was it week 15 of the 2024 season?
Yeah, week 14, week 15, it was right in there. And we went toe-to-toe with them. What was it, 47-43?
48-42, and we should have had that game won, but we lost to Lee McNeil, I think, in the third quarter of that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And we were already barely treading water in that season. How did we hang with the Bills when our team was decimated? And this defense is a lot better now than it was before.
That was one of 2 losses for the entire season.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hey, speaking of the Jets, I want to do something really quick. I want to do a little exercise. So we have talked about the Lions' first 5 games, and predicting 4-1 or 5-0. I want you to do the same thing with the Jets. So I have the Jets' first 5 games up here, and I want you to tell me what you think for the Jets in their first 5 games. So their week 1 matchup is the Tennessee Titans.
Okay. What is I'm sorry, what's the test?
I just want you to tell me who wins these games.
Okay.
Titans at Jets.
Titans at Jets?
Yep.
Ooh, Jets by just a fingernail.
Okay. Now the Green Bay Packers at the Jets.
Jets by a fingernail.
Okay. And then you have the Detroit Lions hosting the Jets.
Lions by a mile.
Then you have the Bears hosting the Jets.
Jets by a fingernail.
And then you have the Jets at the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, hold on a second, Eric. Eric, I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So without the Cleveland Brown game, we'll say that he gave them the Cleveland Brown game. That has them going 4-1 and losing to the Detroit Lions. So that tells me that the Jets may have a very improved team here in 2026, according to Will. And I also think that. I think they're going to be 3-2 coming out of that. I think that they drop one to the Lions and they drop one to either Green Bay or the Bears. So the Jets are going to be tough this year. So I don't think that's a gimme game. I don't think the Saints is a gimme game. I don't think the Bills is a gimme game. And I don't think the Panthers is a gimme game anymore. These 4 games to start this season are looking very tough. The one thing I do like is that 2 of them are on the road, 2 of them are at home, and the 2 home games, the Saints and the Jets, I think with the home crowd and everyone being super loud, I think that can help us get over the edge and win those 2 games. The 2 games that are on the road, the Panthers game and the Bills game, those are going to be 2 super tough, really hard games. So we will see what happens. And we are on this whole injury thing here and talking about the Lions schedule. So I'm going to go over some NFC North injuries real quick. I'm going to start with the Green Bay Packers. So the latest injury news for each team. So Micah Parsons, the edge, he was placed on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP list, as he recovers from ACL surgery, and he is expected to remain inactive for quite a while still. So they don't see him being back for any games anytime soon. And then Josh Jacobs, the running back, is dealing with a groin injury that held him out of the family fun night, but the team does not believe it to be a serious concern.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I thought thought my
That's
dog.
all right.
Thought my dog.
I started
broke his
going over
leg.
some injuries for the NFC North.
Let's go back to your Jets thing. Where were we?
Okay. So the Jets. So you had 1 game left to go, and that was against Cleveland. They were going to host Cleveland.
I think they'll win that game too.
Yeah. So you have them going
Like
either
4-1
3-2 or 4-1.
Yeah.
So I have them
And
going
look,
3-2.
and it's early. I mean, we don't know what the rosters are going to be, but I'm that
Yep.
confident that what was that? The first 5 games,
Yeah, first 5 games.
and they don't have a week 6 bye, right?
I don't believe so.
So let's just
I'm
go.
not sure.
Let's go first. First 6 games. Yeah, they have the Patriots right after that. So I would give them 3-3 in the first 6 games, which would be a tremendous upside for the Jets this year. I'll give them 3-3. So look, the Titans is going to be a tough game too. That's why I said by a fingernail. That game's a pick 'em. Like I think it could go either way. And week 1 is always difficult because it is the most difficult week to pick. Every year I pick week 1, and it is the worst year ever for me. This year I'm going to take in a different strategy. I'm going to pick them like I normally do, and then I'm going to reverse it and see if it gets better. In the Packers, look, I just don't trust the Packers. I don't. I don't think that they're a great football team. I think that they're mediocre, and I think they get a lot of help from the refs. But anyway, was there any other team that you wanted to talk about? The other teams the Lions face, or what?
No, I had this thing on the Jets and I posted it on social media about their first 5 games because I wanted to know what people thought. It says now Eric's volume is low. Okay, let's check this out. Let's see if I changed it all.
I didn't change anything.
No, I'll see if something changed on my end. No, I'm still at 80. So
You say something again.
check. 1,
Yeah,
2, 1, 2.
let me turn up the. I'll turn up the secondary because I got you on secondary today.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, then I guess speaking about the Jets, we'll continue with the Jets for a moment.
Mhm.
You know, their baseline or their win-loss record was 3-14 last year. But they have changed so much when you compare the 26 roster. Geno Smith changes the offense obviously. Even though Geno had an NFL high 17 interceptions last year with Vegas, and I don't think that that's Geno. I think that he's got a much better opportunity with the Jets. He was also sacked 55 times. And Aaron Glenn believes that the Jets offensive line gives them, a much better environment for Geno to, at least keep things copacetic. And then you look at the veteran defensive overhaul, and it's enormous. Like, they added Minka Fitzpatrick, they added Demario Davis, David Onimiata, Kingsley Enabare, Nashon Wright, Trevonde Sweat. I mean, they went all in. And then their draft,
God.
I mean, David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, Omar Cooper, D'Angelo Pons. Dude, if they have a 23 season like the Lions did, I would not be surprised, because they have the draft to do it. It takes rookies, every year it takes rookies to help your team get those extra few wins. They have the rookie class to do it if they stay healthy. Omar Cooper, I think he's going to be one of the best rookie receivers, coming out of this draft. I don't know the health of these guys right now because I didn't look into that. And then Kenyon Sadiq, I mean, you already know how I feel about Kenyon. I think that the Lions missed the boat here by not taking Kenyon, but who would we have not gotten, right? Is the other question. So, I mean, just a freak of a roster. A freak of a roster. I'd say no less than 9-8, and I'd say the sky's the ceiling, sky's the limit for the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals. All right, let's talk about the Cardinals briefly. Last year, I believe they were 3-14, right? So Kyler Murray's gone. Mike LaFleur is the new head coach. Quarterback has been an issue big time. And they have Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew. Man, look, I think Gardner Minshew,
rookie too.
yeah, and I think that Carson Beck, and he's been playing well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gardner Minshew could end up beating out Brissett. We'll see how that goes.
Did you happen to catch the Hall of Fame game?
Yeah, I watched it. I watched portions of it.
Yeah, the end of that game was amazing for a preseason game.
Who is the Cardinals running back? Donovan Knight.
Yeah. Zombie Night.
Yeah, he played great.
Yep.
He played great.
Lion.
A former Lion. So they had Jeremiah Love. I think that's going to be huge. He hasn't looked great in practice so far. There's really been some growing pains for him. They have Trey Benson, former Lion. They have free agent Tyler Algier. So it's an explosive backfield. I'm sorry, not Trey Benson. He's not a former Lion. They brought in veteran guard Isaac Sumelo. They drafted Chase Basantis, I believe, last year. Carson Beck, we know they took in the third round or end of the second round. They also drafted Walter Nolan a year ago and Will Johnson, the corner, in 25. But their injury board is probably the worst of these teams right now, right? Caleb Proctor already out for the season. Defensive lineman P.J. Mustipher, he's gone to IR with a foot injury. Safety Joey Blunt is on IR. Kenny Yeboah is on IR. Garrett Williams has been on PUP since returning from an Achilles tear. Josh Sweat is now on PUP with a knee issue. Tip Riemann has been put on PUP with an ankle. And Paris Johnson began on PUP with a knee injury, has already been activated, so we'll see where that develops. And Walter Nolan also had a knee scare in camp just the other day. Trey Benson has been running or managing a sore knee. James Conner entered the camp healthy. But just take the Arizona Cardinals injury report that I just gave you. Look at how crazy that is to what the Lions are dealing with. They have like 10 players going through significant stuff. We have 17 players with 2 of them that were injured from last year that are going to be back, right? They're going to be back. It's just, is it week 1 or is it week 4 or is it week 7? We don't know with Kirby and Branch just yet. And then we lost a couple of guys that probably weren't going to make the roster anyway, and now Cade Mays is injured. Far less of an injury report than even the Cardinals have. There's no reason why we should lose that game.
So we saw a couple of updates about Kirby, after he was put on the PUP list. We saw him running up a hill and, doing this stuff on social media. Did the Lions shut him down or something? I haven't heard anything from him after the first couple of days of camp.
What do you mean shut him down?
On social media, tell him to just, calm down. Because he was going nuts on people on social media.
I mean, he may have shut himself down. I don't know that the Lions can really control him, but yeah, I mean, obviously he was livid, I think, because of the whole PUP thing. He said he wasn't going to be on PUP, and then, social media is, well, you were wrong, so they started attacking him. And then his practices that he showed that I covered, I mean, he looked great. Mm-hmm. He looked great. And, well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see where it turns into. I mean, again, that's a player that even if you get 50% of the snaps out of him this year, and the Lions heavily manage his is on-field work. What's wrong with that? Especially with the development of the other safeties and the way that this room has already been looking. I mean, look, the defensive day yesterday, when I get to it, great defense. I think we pulled down like 4 interceptions yesterday.
Wow.
So I mean, there's too much doom and gloom out there. They're looking past all of the great developments that have been happening for this team this year. So next up, let me just go back and look at the Panthers real quick.
Mm-hmm.
They were 8-9, I think, last year in the NFC South champs, right? So can Carolina get it together this year? I don't have confidence in Bryce Young. Doesn't mean that he can't finally put a few things together. Might even be better than Caleb Williams. I don't know, but even that's a far cry. They have Jalen Phillips that they picked up in the offseason, right? Gives Carolina the pass rusher that they really needed. They added Devin Lloyd. Remember, everyone that wanted Jalen Phillips, right? So he better get to Goff like 5 times in that game because he was supposed to be in Detroit. So if he doesn't have a 5-sack game, then it was worthless, right? They added Devin Lloyd. He's coming off an all-pro season and 5 interceptions. They went from 32nd to 16th on defense last year. That should only get better this year. And I think when you combine that with their draft, even in 2025, they had Tedoria McMillan, who had a great year. Nick Scorton's already out for the season. Princely Umanamian is fine, but Nick is done. Let's see. In the 26th draft, they took Monroe Freeling. Everyone's pick for Detroit but me. So they've got a massive offensive tackle. We'll see how that develops. They also brought in Lee Hunter, massive defensive tackle that I really liked. They added Chris Brassel and Will Lee the third, and the center Sam Hecht, and safety Zaki Wheatley. Loved Wheatley. Hecht was okay. Will Lee I didn't care about. Brassel I thought was good. I think Brassel's already hurt. So on the big injury news for them, Ikem Ekwonu, he's still in recovery from a torn patellar tendon. Their veteran right tackle Taylor Morton was diagnosed with a blood clot in his left lung, or in his lung. That's crazy. He may or may not miss some regular season time. Sounds like he will. They ended up signing Rashid Walker and then drafting Freeling. So, I mean, Freeling looks like he's a very important piece of this offense right now. J.C. Horn had a cut on his foot requiring stitches, but was expected to be back quickly. Tershawn Wharton entered camp recovering from a neck surgery. And then Bobby Brown, the third, was dealing with a hamstring issue. So, I mean, it's not an overly alarming injury report. There's a few players that are already down. But again, they're battling about what we are. So does that mean that Carolina's season is over? What about the New Orleans Saints? They have Tyler Shuck. They drafted Calvin Banks last year. They added Vernon Broughton, Jonas Sanker, Danny Stutzman. And then the veteran additions they brought in this year, Travis Etienne, Noah Fant, Caden Ellis, Dave Edwards, Dylan Radunes, John Ridgway. And they also traded for the former first-round edge rusher Tyree Wilson. So they've revamped this team. And as far as their injuries are going right now, Chris Olave had a knee scare after getting tangled with Kool-Aid McKinstry, but he did return to work and was fine. Let's see. Dylan Radunes also left practice with an issue that had not been fully explained yet. Nick Saldiveri is on reserve PUP. Otherwise, I mean, you compare them to several other teams, and they're kind of in the same boat as what the Lions are. Not a crazy injury, mess going on. We have a lot of players with soft tissue stuff that is going to take days to a couple of weeks, not months. You just hope that it gets managed right and cleared right. So, again, when I look at the first several games, there's no reason why the Lions can't finish with a winning record before Cade Mays gets back. And they brought in Juice Scruggs. So let's transition to that right after you give us what your take is now after going through some of the injuries, the notes, and everything on the first few games for the Lions.
Well, I think that, every team's going to be banged up a little bit. But none of these teams I don't see being devastated like the Lions are right now. I don't see any other teams with 4 starters out on any of these teams right now. 4 of their bona fide starters just not playing as of right now. So to me, it just seems like the Lions are at a disadvantage just starting the preseason. You're missing 4 of your players that need to be out there and need to be, helping. That's a large percentage. Even 2 starters on offense and 2 starters on defense out of 11 people. That's about 10%. So when you're missing 10% of your starters, that's a huge disadvantage for the Lions.
But the Lions have missed 95 to 98% of their starters on defense, and they won 15 games. And Tyler Lacey, from last season, Tyler Lacey has been such an amazing bright spot right now. So I'm really not as concerned. If we can control the front, and if we're dealing with a little bit on the back end, you have to remember when we're in nickel, we don't necessarily need Kirby right now. We don't necessarily need Branch right now in nickel. You got 5 defensive backs on the field. It's all about having speed and versatility, and even though Branch, absolutely want to have him out there. But I think that what the Lions brought in is going to produce, and we're going to talk about that here in just a few moments because yesterday's practice was insane for the Lions defense.
Well, see, I haven't been to a single practice yet. I'm going to practice next Wednesday, possibly next Monday. I have tickets to both, but I haven't laid my eyes on any of these guys yet. I haven't seen the rookies. I haven't seen the new people coming in. I haven't seen people coming off injury. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been to a single camp yet, but it's going to all change next week. So maybe my view won't be so much doom and gloom.
Well, I don't even know how it is doom and gloom. It's look, I get it. The answers in the chat, like we have every right to be concerned because of the last couple of seasons. Who just said that?
It's a gut punch. Listen, when I've gotten up every day the last couple of days, it's this player's down, that player's down. This guy's got an MCL. This guy's got a wrist. This guy's going to miss games. This guy's going to miss the preseason. And I'm just like, holy crap, how much can we take?
You know what they say, man? Someone said this the other day. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
I hope so.
And right
I'm
now,
just waiting for the stronger part.
Well, we've been strong. Look, I'm going to continue to point back to 2024. The way that Dan Campbell had this team ready started in training camp. If you don't hold your training camp the way that you hold your training camp, I don't think 24 happens. But because he had those guys ready, because he gave them meaningful reps, because they played real football in practice, they were ready. And then later when we had to grab guys off of other practice squads and start starting 4th stringers and guys that weren't even on the team, the day before and they're in the game, that night. That's because of coaching, and I believe in the coaching, and I believe in the results that we've seen. Just because we haven't won a Super Bowl, just because we won the 1 seed, look, that was such a fallacy. I was probably the only guy here. I don't remember what you were saying, but I was one of the only guys here talking about these Lions in 24 when I was saying, okay, we've lost up to 21 players to IR throughout that season. And at the time that when we lost Hutch, he was like the 2nd or 3rd player that we lost on defense that was a massive deal. Barnes, Hutch, and I think Rodrigo, if I'm not mistaken, went out right around the same period of time. Or Alex Anzalone went out right around the same period of time. And so everyone thought the season was over. And I said, how's the season over? Hutch wasn't even that beneficial. If you put in guys that can just do their job, it's not about sacks. It's about controlling the edge. And what did we do? We still let in pressures. We still had some of the best pressure rates in the league. Forget the sacks. They created TFLs. They created pressure. What Aaron Glenn did wrong was he blitzed too much. That is what collapsed the end of the season. But it was a fallacy to believe at 15-2 and winning the 1 seed that we were actually going to win a game after that. Not going up against teams that were more healthy than us, and not going up against teams where guys like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn had their heads way up their ass and made some terrible calls in that second half that put Jared Goff in harm's way, Jameson Williams doing shit he shouldn't be doing, and just running the wrong plays on a 3rd and 1 at the 17-yard line. I mean, there's so many things that happened. Jared Goff is not innocent, but he was not the reason. And Josh Reynolds wasn't the reason either, in the year before. So it's
it was Vildor.
Or Vildor, right? I mean, the 1 in a billion catch to the guy that's not even playing in the league anymore. It's nuts that the doom and gloom it sets in, and who capitalizes off the doom and gloom? Well, it's that little pocket of toxic that peddles the doom and gloom that really make a shit ton of money off y'all for it. So I tend to listen to the information that tends to bear fruit, right? And we've always been able to give good information that bears fruit. And so this year we are far from over. If anything, I think the Lions are in a decent spot with these injuries being many of them minor. It's the shock value. Oh my God, Pacheco. And I want to go back to another rumor real quick. Again, this is a rumor, 100% rumor. I'm not going to put my name on this whatsoever, but I'm just going to share it. That Teddy B was upset because a play got blown up and might have put Pacheco in harm's way. And so he felt like he wasn't doing the job required of him to help this team. And
he thought it was his fault?
Right. Like he thought that he let the team down. Dan said that. I mean, he said those exact words, that he felt like he was letting the team down. And whether that happened or it didn't, Teddy B doesn't deserve that. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't think he was going to be on the roster, even though I said that I didn't expect him to last, through cuts and that maybe Altmaier would get a chance and Teddy B would go down to the practice squad, I still respect the hell out of that man for everything that he's given Detroit and how important he was for JMO's growth and the importance that he has, the important part that he had in Jared Goff's growth too. So,
do you know what I did yesterday when I heard about Teddy B retiring? I went and watched Luke Altmaier highlights from college, and I watched a bunch of tape of Luke Altmaier yesterday, and I found something out. This kid's actually pretty decent.
mm-hmm.
He's got a pretty spry arm, and you know who he reminds me of? Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
He's got wheels like you would not believe. I watched him run a 55-yard touchdown on a broken play. The pocket blew up, a big hole opened up. It was supposed to be a pass play. His receivers were covered. They were being mugged, and he just took the ball up the middle, ran over to the left side, and ran it for 55 yards for a touchdown, untouched all the way to the end zone. This kid's got some wheels on him.
The only difference is about 4 inches and about 25 pounds.
Yeah,
between him and Allen, but yeah, he definitely he has an arm. I've said it.
That style of play is what I mean. Not a carbon copy or anything like that. It's just you see Josh Allen falling and throwing the ball 40 yards down the field. Well, I saw the same thing go to Altmaier.
He definitely has an arm, and the one thing that I said about Altmaier when I learned that we had picked him up, and shortly after that was, how did he not get drafted? I can't believe that he made it all throughout the draft and didn't get drafted. It makes zero sense to me. And I've even heard some other analysts talk about the same thing. Like Altmaier probably would have been drafted ahead of J.J. McCarthy in 2023 or 2024. Make that make sense.
Yeah. Just came out the wrong year. And I think that, ever since the whole Shedeur Sanders thing, that QBs have purposely been pushed down the boards.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I think that it's just a positional thing. I think you were either a first round pick or you get pushed down. It's just like when who was it? Was it when Kenny Pickett and all them came out?
Mhm.
Will Levis and all them. We thought we were going to have a bunch of first round picks, and they all ended up being third, fourth, fifth rounders, and everybody got pushed down the board. And you're seeing that even this year. There was only two quarterbacks. You had number one, and then you had the guy go to the Rams, and that was it for quarterbacks in the first round. I just think that the quarterback position, unless you are a bona fide first round talent, top of the end market talent, you're not going to get taken in the first round anymore. And you might not get taken in the second or the third, fourth or the fifth. You might be a seventh round pick, or you might be a UDFA now.
It's crazy where things are
Kind of like,
developing.
the running backs not getting paid forever, and they're still not getting paid that much. So I saw a thing that Jahmyr Gibbs' contract is the 113th highest contract in the NFL. And that's if you take the quarterbacks out. If you put the quarterbacks back in, he's the 128th richest contract in the NFL. And that's the best for the running backs. So the running backs are very suppressed. So that's what I kind of think with this whole QB thing of Altmaier not being drafted this year. I just think this was a weird year for quarterbacks, and not too many teams needed one.
Yeah, it's surprising because you had so many coaches, so many new coaches. And it is what it is. We got him, and I think he's going to be all right. And now we have Josh Dobbs back. All right, we're going to take a brief break. When we get back, we're going to do a camp update. Eric, I don't know. You were going through some NFC North stuff a minute ago when I was off?
A little bit, yeah.
Do you have more?
Yeah, I got a little bit of stuff.
Okay, so when we get back, we're going to get into camp practice update from August 10th, and we moseying on through our day. Oh, don't forget, man, check in this morning. 6'1", 240.8 pounds for me. Luke Altmaier checks into quarterback 2. We'll be right back.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from UperLights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights, with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit UperLights.com for all your UV flashlight needs, with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from UperLights.com.
All right, apparently we got a request for a Titans update.
Titans
And before I forget, big shout out to Rather Be Fishing Fred. It says, what I would like to see is the NFL add one more game, increase the roster to 65, 70 players, and make players sit X amount of games to increase their longevity and health. What's funny about that is that has been one of the things that the NFL has talked about, that if they do increase to 18 games, that all starters will have to sit at least one game. I don't know how or why that would make any sense. There's just not enough players. How could you say, yeah, I'm going to go into the game and I'm going to sit? And I guess what they're talking about is it's like a round robin approach. Like if you sat this player in this game, well, then they're available for the rest of the games. Or if this player was injured in this game and didn't play, well, then they're available for all the games. That they can only play in 17 games a year. And so then that kind of, it's like another glorified preseason game. So you better make that the first game of the year, right? If it's going to count, you better make that the first game of the year.
So all the teams rest all their starters
Week 1.
on week 1 on offense, and then week 2 on defense.
Just doesn't. No, I mean, I would rest them all in week 1. But you're going to have to give them a roster that can handle, maybe you keep 90 players through the first week and then you do cuts. And I think that would even make more sense. Like, why can't you just hold these players, through the first couple of weeks? They don't have to make crazy amount of money. Give them 2 tiers. You get the starting, top 53. Extend that to 56 at least. Extend that to 56. Extend your practice squad instead of 16 to 20. So now you have 76 players that you can hold throughout the season. What is wrong with that, NFL? Like, why can't you give teams another, 7 players between practice squad and regular squad? Maybe you extend it to 60 and you still keep practice squad at 16. Then you have 76 still. And maybe the guys that are not in the top 51, maybe they make, the minimum amount. Look, these teams are making money hand over fist. They're not losing money. They're making big time money. You can absolutely extend these rosters. That would keep cohesion together. It would allow for injuries to be better managed and taken care of. The waiver wire would be, less utilized because you wouldn't really need to do anything. So I do believe they do need to do something. And thank you for the donation this morning. And I do think you're right. Like, if they do go to 18 games, they have to change the roster amount, especially if they're flirting with the idea of making, players sit 1 game a year. Like, I just don't understand the dynamics of that working.
I would rather they just have 2 bye weeks. That
they need that
way
too.
More sense.
They have to have that too.
Have 2 more bye weeks. Push the Super Bowl back a week. There you go. The Super Bowl doesn't have to be the first weekend or second weekend they moved it this year because it was on Valentine's Day for the first time ever. It was on the 14th instead on the 7th, like it traditionally is the first Sunday in February. Well, it got moved back a week. Well, move it back 1 more week. Who cares? I don't care how long the NFL season goes. It can go even longer for all I care. Could be the first week in March is when the Super Bowl is, as far as I'm concerned.
So Sunburst asked for this, said to give Gaviscon a Titans update. Is Gaviscon a Titans fan? Just hangs out in the Lions chats?
Why do we need to do a Titans update?
I don't know. I mean, I don't mind updating every single team, but I mean, I do have the full injury report for every team. I could go through that here in a little bit.
We don't play the Titans until December 13th.
Well, maybe that's why they wanted the Titans update. But anyway, let's get to the training camp update from yesterday. This is not terribly long. It's not a full report like I've been doing. It's close. But great day for the defense. Oh, you're going to get this in front of me. There we go. Okay, August 10th practice report for your Detroit Lions. Obviously, we learned yesterday what happened with Cade Mays. But Monday was still one of the better evaluation days that we've had in camp in pads. Most of the veterans resumed after Sunday's lighter session. Officials were on the field yesterday. There was a heavy dose of very competitive teamwork with live tackling mixed in. So even though we lost Cade Mays, Dan did not back down from live tackling or live drills. The defense owned the turnover column yesterday with 4 interceptions, and the offense later answered by putting together a touchdown drive and then closed out practice with the biggest play of the day. My biggest takeaway is pretty straightforward from yesterday. The secondary is continuing to outkick its coverage this year. They are playing a lot better than expected. Despite the missing pieces, Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs are becoming major matchup nightmares in Drew Petzing's offense. Go figure. I just put that out yesterday or the day before. My Sam Laporta breakdown and why he is so important in Petzing's offense, and he is exploding right now inside this offense. Now, the offensive line has suddenly been or become a real issue. Obviously, losing Cade Mays. Juice Scruggs has a soft tissue injury. Others have been banged up throughout the year, but we're starting to get some players back too. Barch is back. Seth McLaughlin has now been ramped up. But let's start with the offense. Jamison Williams, he closes practice with a big play. In the final situation, put the offense ahead 23-20 with a minute 53 remaining. The ball was at its own 48, both sides holding 2 timeouts, and the objective was simple: get the first down and finish the game. Jacob Sailors was stopped on first down. And on second down, Jared Goff sold the play action and went straight over the top to Jamison Williams. Pause there. If you go back and listen to my Sam Laporta breakdown, this is exactly why these things work. Williams got a step on Rock Ya-Sin. Goff dropped the ball right in the bucket, 50 yards down the field, before Williams was ruled down at the 1-yard line. How did he get caught from behind?
I watched that play. It's pretty good.
The other thing is, everyone keeps saying, or a lot of people keep saying, Jared Goff doesn't have an arm. It's on display again. Look, I'm going to say what I've always said. In 5-on-5s or 7-on-7s or individual work, look, I don't care what quarterbacks are doing. I don't care what any of the offensive weapons are doing. That is just landmark work is what I call it. They're just trying to identify where they need to be on the field. But in 11-on-11s with pads, it gives it some real credence. Lions ended the practice with 3 kneel downs. I'm surprised that they did that. I don't, like, why didn't they just push the ball? Why didn't they hand it off 3 times? Why would you allow them to kneel down in practice? I don't understand that part. There's also a version of Jamison Williams, that I'm looking for this year, and this is it, right? The defense knew that the offense needed to move the chains. Petzing still attacked vertically instead of just playing for the marker. And Sam Laporta was a problem. Sam Laporta had one of his best days of practice so far in camp. Maybe after he listened to my video, maybe he just, said, I can do this. I'm better than Trey McBride. All right, so during one of the last live first-team drives, Goff squeezed the third down throw between Chuck Clark and Thomas Harper for roughly 20 yards to Sam Laporta. He also separated from Devin White in coverage and then later scored during red zone work. Brock Wright followed in Sam Laporta's footsteps with another touchdown, and Thomas Gordon also found the end zone. This is why I keep coming back to Laporta's role in this offense. He is not being treated like an afterthought in progression. Petzing is creating situations where the tight end becomes the matchup, the key, the star, whatever you want to call him, right? He's the hot route. Amon-Ra St. Brown also finished with first-team touchdown drive, 15-yard score on a post-corner route after beating Nick Whiteside. Gibbs in space is just completely unfair. Jahmyr Gibbs produced one of the cleanest individual plays of the day. He bounced a run outside. He got Whiteside isolated as the final defender, hit him with a move in space, and finished the run for a short touchdown, putting Whiteside on skates. There is really, I guess there really isn't much to complicate there, right? I mean, one-on-one with Gibbs against anybody in space is a bad assignment. Center competition ramped up yesterday. It changed overnight with Cade Mays' injury. Seth McLaughlin took all of the first-team center work with Mays out, and Juice Scruggs still unavailable, battling this soft tissue injury. The first few team periods were a challenge. Ali McNeil and Tyleek Williams tested his interior anchor immediately, and both had success getting into his frame. McLaughlin then later settled down as practice continued. He kind of got those first practice jitters out. His protection, communication improved. He handled some movement up front better, and then finished the session much cleaner than he started. One of the statements about Seth McLaughlin yesterday by Jared Goff was that he was very decisive as is, running as the center for his first time. These are the first snaps that they've taken together. Christian Mahogany continues to control most of the first team work at left guard. Blake Miller also got another full day against Aiden Hutchinson, and Hutchinson beat him more than just once outside with speed. But Miller also had successful snaps of his own, and that is exactly the work that Miller needs before his preseason debut on Thursday. Yes, it's expected that he will play on Thursday. Goff's overall day was mixed. The offense produced scoring drives, and he finished with a deep ball to Williams, but he also threw 2 interceptions on the day. Luke Altmaier was also intercepted twice and also scored on a well-executed read option look. Josh Dobbs started to work through individual drills, going through a ramp-up before he gets integrated into full-team contact, but did not take any team reps after joining the roster. I'll stop there before I get into the defense. What are your thoughts, comments, ideas about the offensive performance yesterday?
It sounds like they had a good day. It's nice hearing that JMO is having the camp of a lifetime. And as far as Sam Laporta goes, this is Sam Laporta's 4th year.
Yep.
So he is not under contract for next year. Now, the Lions can franchise tag him. They can do quite a bit of things to keep Sam Laporta around. They can give him a new contract. But I think Sam's going to demand some money because his first couple of years were really good. Last year was an injury season. And this year, I think he's going to come on in Drew Petzing's offense. And he may have a career year this year. And if he does, how are we going to afford Sam Laporta if we don't franchise tag him?
I think that they're going to be able to do it. But yeah, a franchise tag for Sam Laporta would probably make more sense than Brian Branch. But I don't think that they're going to franchise him. I think that they're going to get a deal done. They'll have some money next year to get one of them done. It's just the whole Brian Branch thing that, I mean, it throws a cog into this whole thing because it's a lot of money going out. Attila, I'll be there the 19th. Eric will be there the 19th. I think you said you'll be there the 19th.
Yeah.
We'll find a spot to sit together. And,
I gave Attila a ticket, so.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And then
I told the people that I gave tickets to for the 19th that they had to find me and get a picture taken with me. So.
Well, there you go. And I also have extra tickets for the giveaway ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So Attila, I'll be more than happy to give you one of those as well, and you'll be able to get your JMO bobblehead and a little gift bag and all that stuff too. So I appreciate you being part of Rock Down Detroit Lions. Obviously, you're going to be out there, so we'll get you hooked up. See, when even though you have 4 tickets, like they won't give me more bobbleheads than just the 2 people that show up anyway. So I'm not gonna let it go to waste.
Yeah, I have an extra ticket for that as well.
So if you're going to be out there on the 19th and, you're part of this chat every day, get a hold of us, mailbag@rockdown.com. You can also text us at 313-podcast, and it will work something out. We'll communicate and figure out a plan to meet. I forget, what time is that practice?
The practice, I believe, let's see, I can tell you right now. Hold on. It's all on my Google Wallet, so I got to look here. Let's see. View more passes. So on the 19th, it's at 1 p.m. And then my tickets for the Lions Loyal season kickoff is 4 o'clock for me.
Yeah, but to enter, I think it opens up at 1:30 or something.
Yeah, but everybody's got a time. They gave you a time. So the practice is at 1 o'clock, and then I have my tickets for the party at 4. Because they're trying to stagger everybody to come in, so not everybody's coming in at the same time. I figured that'd give me enough time to watch the hour and a half practice, go get some lunch, and get over to Ford Field.
Oh, is it at Ford Field this year?
Yeah, it's at Ford Field.
Oh, I guess it was last year too. Okay. Well, shit, then that makes a big difference because I think my ticket's at 2:30.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't want to leave practice just to go to the party.
I didn't realize, for some reason, I didn't realize it was at Ford Field.
Yeah.
I screwed up that one. I'll just call my rep and get it switched.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, let's talk about defense for a moment. Because defense had a crazy good day. 4 interceptions. Chuck Clark was everywhere. So people are worried. You're worried about Branch, Kirby. Rightfully so, right? Understand it. I can appreciate that we want to have the best players out there.
Yep.
Chuck Clark was a guy that I said is really gonna shock people this year. I did not expect Chuck Clark to be the ball hawk that he has been throughout camp so far. He's had multiple interceptions, and they really got started day one of camp. And I think in the first day of camp, he might have had an interception. So he's continuing what he's doing. And look, if you're able to intercept Jared Goff, that is not an easy pick. This is not an indictment on Jared Goff that is saying that he's going to throw a bunch of interceptions this year. This is just Chuck Clark being a really good player who's figured out this offense a little bit, and he's able to execute. But he's been everywhere. He's played incredibly well. Kelvin Shepard has talked all offseason about creating more takeaways. And the fact that they've gone to some more zone, like this is where you're going to be able to set up the offense to be able to pull away, some more interceptions, because you're going to have guys in position that maybe, where we didn't have them before when we were consistently in a base, style of a defense. So on Monday, the defense produced again 4 interceptions during team periods. Chuck Clark was involved in both turnovers from Goff, one on a red zone snap. On one red zone snap. Devin White got a hand on a pass intended for Gibbs, and then Chuck Clark came away with that interception. And then later, Chuck Clark drove on a crossing route intended for St. Brown, deflected the football, and a Whiteside finished the play with the pick. Christian Izien and Dan Jackson each intercepted Altmaier. Clark continues to look exactly like we wanted him to be, knowing that Brian Branch was going to be out, knowing that Kirby Joseph was day-to-day, have no idea what's going on there. He's playing fast. He's processing quickly, consistently arriving around the football. Whiteside has been the bright side of this camp. He keeps making plays as well. With DJ Reed sidelined right now, Whiteside has taken advantage of the first-team opportunities. And I mentioned that the other day when we learned about DJ Reed, that you're going to see Whiteside move to the top of the list, and that's exactly what happened. So he's getting a ton of opportunities right now, and the ball production is becoming way too difficult to ignore. Whiteside is a lock for me on this roster. Preseason obviously will prove a lot, but I don't think that Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes can ignore the growth of Whiteside this season. Rocky Sin and Ennis Rakestraw and Roger McCreary. Rocky Sin has been physical against the run and was credited with 2 tackles behind the line of scrimmage. He competed throughout most of practice before Williams got him on a final deep shot. That is where I'm more concerned about the safety. Like, what happened with the safety on that role? Yeah, I didn't see the play. I didn't see the back end of the defense, so I don't know if it came in 7-on-7 or if it came in an 11-on-11. Rakestraw produced one of his better individual plays yesterday when he tracked Tom Kennedy after a short catch and then punched the ball loose. Rakestraw has had an up-and-down camp. He's been fairly inconsistent, but there's one thing that has been consistent, and that he's always around the football, and he's always playing in the back pocket of these guys. He's making every catch challenging. He still remains primarily with the second group, and Dan Campbell mentioned that the other day, that his consistency still needs some work. So again, one rep is not going to erase the inconsistency problems, but that type of a finish is exactly what Kelvin Shepard and Dan Campbell expect. If you miss on the play, you have to create a play. And that's exactly what he did. McCreary had another mixed day. Now, I know that Dan yesterday in the press conference kind of gave some kudos for how he's been. He just hasn't been himself. McCreary has not played to the level that we expected him to play. I feel like he's kind of struggling in this camp right now. It's also a loaded room. But he was flagged for a holding call, and then later he defeated Isaac Tesla on the block that Tesla was trying to get on McCreary, and then blew up a screenplay before staying attached to St. Brown on a wheel route. So all good plays from McCreary. He definitely had an uptick in performance yesterday. Next, the front obviously continues to create some problems. The defensive line has been amazing this year. When I was at camp the first day on August 2nd, I said it again for the 3rd year in a row. This will be the best defense we have ever seen in Detroit history in the modern post-Super Bowl era. McNeil and Tyleek Williams immediately challenged McLaughlin, like I said earlier, in his first practice. Tyleek produced several strong sheds and interior pressures on the day. Tyler Lacey has continued to show up against the run, including a backside pursuit play where he shed Miles Frazier and then worked across the formation to get to the ball. Hutchinson gave Miller a headache all day. Miller also had his day, right? He had his moments in practice. Ahmed Hassanin, back out after the minor ankle tweak, continued with his strong camp, had a sack and a tackle behind the line during teamwork. Another player that has really taken a huge step forward this year. Keith Abney, the rookie, has added a sack as a blitzer, and Eric Hunter delivered another physical practice, including a hit that knocked the ball away from Jackson Meeks and another strong coverage play that came against Tyler Conklin. As far as the linebackers go, there's good and bad problems here. We're starting with Devin White. He's been able to play an attack downhill. He's a forward thumper kind of a player. He closes quickly, he can pressure the quarterback, and he has enough power to work through the blocks. The coverage is where the offense is getting after him, and this has been my concern with Devin White. I think he's going to be great in the base defense, but I feel like in the nickel packages, unless you're asking the linebackers to play downhill and not drop into coverage, he may be relegated to playing in base defense. Maybe that flips the other way around too, because now that you have more DBs on the field, you don't need as much from Devin White dropping in coverage. It's only if a tight end or a running back comes out to directly challenge him in his zone, will then he be involved in the pass game. We'll see where it develops. I'll give you more on that probably in a week or so. As far as Laporta, against Devin White, he beat him on a fourth down conversion. Play action pulled White out of position. He bit, and then multiple tight end opportunities allowed Laporta to get free and scored a touchdown. Again, I'm not going to make any final judgments on Devin White. I think he's going to be huge for this team this year. And just after a handful of practices, these are the things that you expect. But White is testing the offense, and the offense is testing White. That's my defensive breakdown. Next up, we'll do special teams. What are your thoughts, Eric?
Well, if you go back to the Bucks game of last year, it was Legion of Whom with Whiteside and a few other guys. Mm-hmm. And Whiteside's been doing it since then. Now, after that game, he had a few games that weren't so great, but he made it through the season. And I tell you what, it wasn't Nick Whiteside's fault that we lost any games last year. You know, I didn't see any glaring holes from him last year. And then for him to come in this year and have such a great camp, I think it's awesome. And I would like to see at least one of the members of the Legion of Whom make it on this team and actually become a starter. That'd be freaking awesome. So way to go, old Ironsides, like Dan calls them. Let's go. Make the team. Not only make the team, but make the 53, you know, as a starter and get out there and do some stuff for us. It's great to see. And if I'm not wrong, Nick Whiteside played in the UFL or the USFL when it was back. And so it's nice to see some of these players coming from the minor league of the UFL, like same as Jake Bates, you know, and moving their way up. Same with Jacob Sailors. Jacob Sailors was the leading rusher, not last year, but the year before for the UFL when he was with St. Louis. And then he came to the NFL last year. So I like seeing this. I love the Legion of Whom. I got my Legion of Whom poster back there behind all this. So I have this all blocked off because I'm redoing it right now. So I'll unveil that when we get to the season. And yeah, I love it. I love seeing that the defense isn't just getting rolled over on every day. I like to see that they have good days, good plays, and the offense has good days and good plays. So to me, my most concerning thing isn't really the defense right now. My most concerning thing right now is that offensive line. And that's just because of the whole center position right now. That has more of my attention than anything else. Oh God, I hope McLaughlin works out.
He has. So let me see if I even included that in this breakdown. We'll actually roll to his video. We're going to be coming up on time here in a minute for you, but we'll roll to this video here in just a few moments. Special teams is quick anyway. So Jake Bates had another 75%er kind of a day, 6 of 8 on his field goals. And what I mentioned is the 40s are going to be very critical for Jake Bates. I've said that multiple days now, and that's where the Lions have predominantly put him this season is putting him in a position to see what he can do, right? Get him more confident and comfortable kicking those footballs, in the 40s. So he connected on 39, 46, 47, and then 51 and 54 yesterday. He missed one from each 47 and 51. So he was 1-1 at 47, 1-1 at 51. So great day by Jake Bates. The 75%, you need to see that up. Obviously he needs to be closer to 85%, I think, this year. But again, I don't want to see him out there. I really don't. I want Jake Bates to have the worst season ever as far as points. A lot of extra points, please. But I don't want to see him out there. I want to see the Lions scoring touchdowns and not relying on the leg. And I don't want Dan Campbell just to constantly go for it and not relying on the leg either. I know it's kind of an oxymoron, double-sided coin, whatever you want to call it. But I think that Bates is going to be great this season. But I really don't want to see the guy out there. Christian Izzian continues working high on the gunner rotation. He's made a legitimate push for major special teams role, and it's kind of expected because that was his role the last couple of seasons with the Bucs. Lions signed a new linebacker. Remember talking about Amin O, Eric? Amin O, we signed him. He's had multiple positive reps in coverage work. One competitive sequence that I liked came from Hassanin and Thomas Gordon during a blocking and release drill. Each took a turn controlling the other as the blocker, and then it got physical and competitive, and they finished the exchange by showing each other some respect. Obviously, they all played well. Good camp work so far, man. We've gone through the injuries and the roster updates, so I'm not going to go through all that again. You guys know where we sit. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but my final read on the day for day 10, well, we'll kick it back to Aaron Rodgers. Just relax. We're not even into week 1 yet. We have about 3 more weeks of camp. We have 3 preseason games to play starting on the 13th.
Thursday.
And we're going to be there. Like, the rest of this defense is playing extremely well. Let's go into Seth McLaughlin. And let's hear what he had to say about his day yesterday. I've been having issues with video playing for some reason. It's still not trying to play. Clear some
It's
cookies.
crazy that we have 2 guys that are basically rookies. Seth McLaughlin, even though he was on the Bengals practice squad last year, he was still hurt from college. And then you have Luke Altmaier. We're relying on 2 very young guys to get a lot done in this preseason and into the season with Seth, because it sounds like he took all the first team reps yesterday.
Yeah, that obviously was the plan, but Juice was out too.
Yeah, Juice has got a soft tissue injury or something. They didn't say exactly what it was.
I thought it was groin.
I saw something about Maddox too. Is Maddox hurt as well?
I didn't see that.
No?
That would be new to me.
I saw something about he didn't practice yesterday.
I didn't see that. You want to look it up real quick while I'm trying to get this damn thing loaded?
Yeah, I don't remember where I saw it either.
At the end of the day, I'll just ask the question. I mean, do y'all think that the Dan Campbell's job, why is this doing this?
Yeah, Detroit Lions defensive back Avante Maddox was recently absent from practice due to an undisclosed issue following an earlier history of soft tissue and hamstring setbacks, as well as back leg designation late in the previous session. So, sounds like he has a back leg designation. Another not great injury news. Jeez, oh Pete. And then I didn't like seeing Peyton Turner's not practicing, and
yeah, he hasn't practiced it. He's had a stiff back for most of camp. I don't understand why this is not playing. I can't get anything to play on the Lions website.
They pulled your credential.
No, it's the website, dude. I mean, this has nothing to do with that. No, my credential's still good, man. Because I'm professional. All right, we got training camp press conference here at 10 o'clock. You got to go at 10, right?
Yeah, I got to get going at 10. I'll stay tuned in, but yeah, I have somebody coming right at 10 this morning. They're probably sitting in my driveway.
And see, like Seth McLaughlin's is also not up on their YouTube. How does that make any sense? It's like it's playing, but it's not showing me any video.
Huh. Strange.
Get my feet back under me.
So I guess we'll
spent
just
time in
listen to it.
Cincinnati last year. Is there any like, oh wow, I get to go back there?
You can
and do
hear
this
it?
on Thursday.
Not really. It just matters how you play. So I'm gonna go out there and try to play my best.
What do you feel like you've made the biggest strides this camp?
Just get my feet back under me. Coming off the injury, getting back to moving full speed. I finally feeling 100% this camp.
How many reps have you had against 54 and 91 pre-camp, and how different is that going against those guys? Is it a little bit of an adjustment period?
Yeah, I've got just a few reps. Clearly not as many as the ones that had all camp, but yeah, they're great players and they're going to get me better. So I'm excited to go against those guys.
Ty Lake's a former college teammate of yours. How often did it feel like you guys were back at Ohio State a little bit?
Yeah, he played a lot of 3 technique at Ohio State, so didn't get a ton of reps versus him in college, just like one-on-one, but it's really exciting. Ty Lake's a great dude. He was at my wedding. Like, we were really good friends from our time at Ohio State, so it's fun to compete against him.
How much do you lean on him in situations like this where you are getting reps with the ones and you can kind of pick his brain a little bit?
Yeah, we go through some of the reps and like, hey, this is what I felt on this. This is what I did when you did that. So it's a good chess match, and he's definitely helped me get better.
Injuries are the opportunity that this provides. Obviously, you don't want the circumstances, but it's an opportunity, and
Yeah.
just your mindset.
I'm taking it one practice at a time, getting better. At practice 11 of camp, you're not who you want to be on the first day of the regular season, so there's a long way to go to keep getting better.
That's the obvious. Eagerness to get out there, considering some injuries have kind of done your career so far.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm excited for the opportunity. It's not always how exciting that you get the opportunity, but I'm going to try to make the best of it.
The first 10 practices didn't end with 25 people around you asking questions. Just how much different was today for you?
Yeah, it's an adjustment, being in the huddle with Jared and hearing how he goes through the plays and how his cadences are. It's definitely an adjustment period, but the operation was pretty smooth today.
How do you think that can help you work with Jared?
Yeah, it's great. Every quarterback you have to work with to get their verbiage down and their speed in the huddle. So it's really just about getting those reps.
The season doesn't start tomorrow, but if it were, how ready would you be to take that starting center job?
Just about as ready as everybody is on day 11 of camp. So there's still a long way to go, and excited to keep pursuing that.
Getting to go back to Cincy, how excited are you for the opportunity to get out on the field there?
Yeah, it's just another opportunity to get out on the field. I got a lot of friends over there that I'm excited to play against. But it doesn't really matter who's game one. It's about going out there and executing and working the offense.
How much work have you previously had with Goff?
Not much up until today.
I know you got added back in, I think it was February or January. So what sort of comfort level do you have in the playbook and the scheme?
Yeah, we get a ton of reps through OTAs and a ton of reps in camp. More so than probably other places. So I feel like going from not with the ones to the ones, I've gotten a lot of reps to keep getting better at football throughout the camp and ready to keep going.
All right.
We talked a couple days ago.
So there you go. That's this is just what's weird, man. Like Altmaier's video is playing, but McLaughlin's won't. I don't understand it. Maybe I needed to start from the video before and let it roll in, but I'm having a rendering issue right now, so I got to figure that out. Dan Campbell's video is going to play. I do know that. And Eric, you got to roll. So what is your 30 of the day?
Well, mine would be everybody relax, take it easy. If you're like me, you really overreacted to all the news the last couple of days. Man, it's still getting me. It's a gut punch with this Cade Mays thing. Hopefully McLaughlin can step right in. And it's a gut punch with, Sione Vaki and Pacheco being out. I know Jacob Sailors is good, but man, who do we got behind him? I don't even know who the next running back would be after Jacob Sailors, So if something happens to him in the preseason, we're kind of stuck without a running back. I know we did sign a couple of guys. We got Jabari Smalls and another guy, but man, running back seems kind of thin to me right now.
Blackshear was the
And-
other guy.
Yeah. So it's just, man, I'm kind of worried, but after being on the show today, I'm kind of not as worried. Let's put it that way. It's making me feel better. I can't wait to see everybody at training camp. Attila, I'll see you down there. And everybody else, I will be there for sure next Wednesday. I don't know about Monday. I have 4 tickets to Monday, but they're non-transferable. I don't know if I'm going Monday or not. So,
All
that'd
right.
be 3 trips to Detroit in 1 week. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, it's a lot, especially for preseason. It's a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, brother.
I'll
Have a
see
good day,
everybody.
man. We'll see you, brother.
See
Take
you
care.
guys.
All right, brief break. We're going to come back with Dan Campbell.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight
and on and off, and then it's reps today. You know, it'll be an hour and a half, and on and off, and then it's really getting ready for Cincinnati for everybody else. Questions?
What are you looking forward to most Thursday night?
What or who?
Both.
Well, I think, you know, with these is the, you know, you as a coach, man, you want to see some of these guys. You know, you've been coaching them on technique, fundamentals. The scheme is not as big of an issue right now. I'm not concerned with that because what we're giving them, they'll be able to play fast. But, man, how do they handle competition? You know, like Cincinnati's going to, you know, I think Zach's going to play those guys a couple of drives. They're starters. So it'll be great look for our guys. You know, how do they compete? Do they use what they've been taught? You know, just you want to see the development. Like you're excited for some of these young guys, you know, and then some of these rookies, young players to have a chance to see where they've grown. Do they take what you're teaching them to the field? And then some of these veteran guys that are playing for a spot, you know, to watch them go out and compete. It's just, you know, that's what's fun about all this. But I think just trying to play as clean a football as we can. You know, nothing's going to be perfect, certainly the first preseason game, but you want to see these guys keep their composure and stay disciplined and use your craft. Use what you've been taught.
Had his camp cut short last year. Looked like he's come back with a real hunger. Just what's impressed you about his camp so far?
Who's that? Oh, yeah. Listen, he's had a really good camp.
Hold on. My bad. Hold on. We'll just restart the whole damn thing.
Game question, but you'd said Kirby Joseph would be reevaluated at 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is tomorrow. What does the next steps look like for Kirby?
Well, Kirby right now.
I'm gonna rewind.
The reps today. You know, it'll be an hour and a half, and on and off, and then it's really getting ready for Cincinnati for everybody else. Questions?
What are you looking forward to most Thursday night?
What or who?
Both.
Well, I think, you know, with these is the, you know, you as a coach, man, you want to see some of these guys. You know, you've been coaching them on technique, fundamentals. The scheme is not as big of an issue right now. I'm not concerned with that because what we're giving them, they'll be able to play fast. But, man, how do they handle competition? You know, like Cincinnati's going to, you know, I think Zach's going to play those guys a couple of drives. They're starters. So it'll be great look for our guys. You know, how do they compete? do they use what they've been taught? Just you want to see the development. Like you're excited for some of these young guys, and then some of these rookies, young players to have a chance to see where they've grown. Do they take what you're teaching them to the field? And then some of these veteran guys that are playing for a spot, to watch them go out and compete. It's just, that's what's fun about all this. But I think just trying to play as clean a football as we can. Nothing's going to be perfect, certainly the first preseason game, but you want to see these guys keep their composure and stay disciplined and use your craft, use what you've been taught.
Had his camp cut short last year. It looked like he's come back with a real hunger. Just what's impressed you about his camp so far?
Who's that? Oh, yeah. Listen, he's had a really good camp. He is all out all the time. The guy never takes a play off, literally never takes a play off. He doesn't take a water break off. The guy is all out. Some of his things, honestly, is we gotta rein him back in a little bit. Sometimes he gets out of his mind. And goes a little rogue on some stuff. But you'd rather it be that way and pull back on him than the other where you're constantly having to prod him. So he's really grown, kind of moving into the big end. That was a move that was made. So he's a little bit of an undersized big end, but it doesn't affect him. He plays so dang hard, plays with leverage. And he's grown, man. What you love about him, like he doesn't cower from anything. Like competition, man, he's all for it. And he wants it. He wants it, and he tries to prove it every day. So you like that. I'm excited to see what he does in this game.
Maybe this is a post-Bengals game question, but you'd said Kirby Joseph would be reevaluated at 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is tomorrow. What does the next steps look like for Kirby?
Well, Kirby right now, first of all, he's dealing with a personal issue right now. All right. But his rehab is coming. First of all,
would be reevaluated at 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is tomorrow. What does the next steps look like for Kirby?
Well, Kirby right now, first of all, he's dealing with a personal issue right now. All right. But his rehab is coming along very well. Okay. So that is I still see him on the Branch plan, if that makes sense. And Branch is doing well too. So those guys, we're talking about on down the road. The season's already begun. But I like where Kirby's at.
It'll be vanilla as far as the play calling goes tomorrow. But for Drew, a new offensive coordinator, what do you want to see from him getting the plays in and working the offense, and how quickly or how efficiently they work?
Well, it'll be, it'll be Altmaier, who's a rookie quarterback, and then certainly Dobbs, but Dobbs just stepped in the door, so just learning our terminology. So, we've got to keep that in mind. I think more than anything, you kind of mentioned it right when you asked the question, it's more about he and I, so he learns my communication with him, what I'm looking for, this is what I mean when I say this, I think more of those things. And then I get a feel of him a little bit. Now, he's not going to, he doesn't have, he won't have all his guys in there. But, you can kind of get a feel of where he's at and the way he thinks, too, in-game flow. I think it's more of that than anything, us just kind of getting familiar with one another in a game setting.
Did you feel last year with Johnny, did you feel confident after the first preseason game, or is that something that kind of changed as you got into the regular season?
No, I think that's always going to be a work in progress. No, not really, but that's normal. I didn't feel great with Ben either the first preseason game. It's a work in progress, and so it takes a minute to learn each other and what you mean, what you're looking for, and the only way to do it is go through games together, But so it'll be good. It's all part of the process.
Does Devin White change this defense just in the early days? It seems like having that veteran presence out there. He makes plays, looks consistent.
I like where he's at, He looks like a different guy than what we saw in Vegas last year on tape. He's moving well. He's thumping, pretty smart. He's got speed, still has that speed. And what I'm seeing right now, that's what I remember in Tampa Bay when I was in New Orleans. That was the guy. He was a headache. And so, Ham's doing a good job with him and Shep, and so it's pretty exciting right now. Let's see where he's at. He's going to play in this preseason game, and let's see where he can go. But we like what we've seen so far 2 weeks in.
Devin did have a pretty good year last year in Vegas, at least by the measure of tackles. So in what ways does he look even better to you guys than he did on tape last year?
He's thumping, and he's running, and he's finishing plays. It's outstanding.
And I know you said yesterday Blake would play. Does he need to play next to the lineman that he's going to play with in the game? Or
that was always it's a good question. I think it would help, but I'm not going to play Tate. Do I think it could help? Yeah, but I like where Tate's at right now with where we're at going in on a Thursday game, first preseason game, and knowing what I've put on some of these guys over the last, really week and a half. The padded practices, that was for a reason, man, to get them where we are. So, of course I would like to play them, but I think the right thing to do is to sit Tate for this game. I do see Blake playing, certainly. And then playing them together next week.
So since the day Jack Campbell arrived, he kind of been putting his head down, just work, not talk very much. But have you saw anything now that he's coming off an All-Pro season, in his vocalness or leadership style? How's he dealing with coming off an All-Pro season?
I think more than anything with any player, man, his confidence is at an all-time high. His confidence and. His knowledge of our defense and what Shep wants, and he's got so much more reign in the defense. We're giving him a lot of different calls. He's got a lot of leeway to get to what we need to get to. We're putting that on him. So he's our quarterback on defense. So, and with that, he understands situations. What we're looking for, what we need to call, what we should be in. And so with that confidence comes, the urgency, man, the urgency, when he communicates and when he makes a call or when he needs this or when he finishes the way he finishes, everybody pretty much snaps to attention. I mean, you can't miss Jack Campbell on the field. And so I think just the nature of the way he goes about his business kind of snaps everybody in, in a good way.
Just to stay with the linebacker theme real quick from Devin and Jack. Eric Hunter, he's a guy that Fipp had mentioned on the radio, just kind of, he can make a million tackles on special teams. What have you seen from him in terms of his growth? We see the length, we see some of the coverage.
Gets better every day. And really his deficiencies come because he doesn't know what he doesn't know yet. Just from where he came from.
Great
I mean,
statement.
he learns something new every day that he's just never known, never been taught, had no idea, and that comes sometimes playing in a smaller school. So, but man, he's athletic and man, he takes notes, he listens, he works his tail off in practice, and every day, he's kind of another one of those guys that makes plays every day, and he certainly makes plays every day in special teams. Every day he's making a block or he's making a tackle. And you just see growth on defense. You see growth. So we like him. He'll be another one. Excited to see him play.
And I'm curious about the
last three, Justin, Corey.
You're 3 weeks away or less than 3 weeks away from kind of having established that initial 53. And so I'm wondering just through the process of camp, the conversations you have with Brad, how fluid are the conversations, the debates, or do you kind of put that in the rear view until you get closer to the date?
Yeah, I think, we certainly have conversations, but I think a lot of it, I'll give you an example. Last night I went in there and man, we were just kind of talking about practice and talking about some of the guys and, hey, this play and that play, and man, I like where this guy, so we kind of talk. We talk to one another periodically in that regard, like, hey, man, did you see this? Did you? And so we get a pretty good idea of what we think each player, and as Brad and I always are, I mean, it's rare that we don't see the same thing. I mean, we see players very much the same way. We respect what players do, how they play, pretty much the same way, what they put on tape. And so those happen. It doesn't happen every day, but it does happen. But I think there's we're going to kind of stay away from a total eval. That's what we're going to do a little different. A total eval until late. Till let's just get all the way through this almost, and then let's really sit down and deep dive, and and let's get a really good perspective, certainly from the coaches, myself, but he and his staff, personnel department. Man, what are they seeing? What are they? And then Brad and I will come together at the end of all this. But yeah, we certainly communicate. I mean, that's
You've seen Keith Abney get moved around a lot, put a lot of different situations.
Who's that?
Keith Abney.
Yeah.
You've seen him move around a lot, get put a lot of different situations just from the time you got him in the building to now in this camp. How have you seen him growing as a player?
He's pretty smart. He's pretty headsy for a rookie, Nickel position's not the easiest, and that's where he's gotten the majority of his reps is in there. And what you like is he'll do exactly what you tell him to do. And you give him one of the finer details, on this coverage, make sure that your eyes go through 2 to 1. And, man, he does it. He hits his landmarks in zone drops. He's just pretty headsy that way. So that's always going to give you a chance, right? If especially if you're a young player, that pretty instinctive, and then you take the coaching to the field. So he's another one. Be excited to see how he plays.
Seems like the top of your depth chart at wide receiver is pretty set, but there's a lot of guys competing for those last couple spots. Just kind of curious if any guys stuck out, made an impression.
It's an all-out battle. That receiver room, this is the best receiver room we've had since I've been here in camp, top to bottom. I mean, those guys are gifted. It's a really good crew, man. And they're all pretty tough. They're all a little bit different, the way they're built. And every one of those guys has flashed on one day or another, has done something pretty damn good. So honestly, this thing's up for grabs. Once you go after you get to the ones you just talked about that we know are up there, there is no telling. And special teams is going to have a huge factor. That's the other thing, man. I'll just give you an example. Like Tay Martin, man, makes plays every day. And he's intriguing on offense, but the fear is already there. He is not that way. This guy, it doesn't matter who's there. He's going to try to use his craft and compete, and you love that. Special teams, he makes plays every day. And so we just, I like where he's at right now, I like where he's at. So, we'll see. We'll see where this goes.
What's that nickname? Like, what's it mean to you, the Ironsides nickname?
Are you kidding? Are you not a history? No, forget it.
I love Dan, man. He always tries to finish with something great. Let's break it down.
In his third season from Alabama, number 0.
All right, so we just had an opportunity to take down Dan Campbell's update for the day, and there's some developments out of today's press conference that don't sound great. Then there's a lot of things that he said that do sound great. Where do I even want to start? Oh, Lord. Hold on here. I made some notes. I just want to make sure I get it all in order. I'm trying to verify something real quick. Okay, so there was some questions asked. Number one, injury updates. Kirby Joseph. This one is a little bit alarming, right? So we were expecting Kirby to potentially play, really get ramped up by the end of camp. And now he's dealing with a personal issue. They didn't tell us what the personal issue is. We don't know what the personal issue is. It could be, family thing. It could be a death in the family. It could be anything. I'm not even going to say the other side of that, what I personally think, because I'll leave that alone. But now it sounds like he's firmly cemented into the Kirby or to the Brian Branch plan, which Brian Branch was supposedly going to be potential week 1 and more than likely before the bye week, right? That's really what, when you break it all down, that's kind of what we were expecting. But then he made a statement that said both of them later in the season. What does that mean? Does later in the season mean week 4, week 8, week 6 at the bye? So week 7, week 2, what does it mean? What's later in the season? It sounds like what he said was the rehab's good. There's no setbacks or anything there. At least he didn't mention any setbacks, but he said rehab's still on plan, the Branch plan. And now, here we are with, and it's funny, right? Because Dan never mentioned, I don't think that Dan mentioned the exact phrase, the Branch plan, but I mentioned the Branch plan after I listened to Dan Campbell when he was talking about Kirby. Do you guys remember, did he mention the Branch plan? Or did he just say he felt like he was, at the same level of Brian Branch? And that was weeks ago, right? Weeks ago. But anyway, on the Branch plan. So it sounds like he's got some stuff going on. Down the road, yep, he said that, down the road, and then mentioned later in the season. Well, later in the season tells me week 1, later sometime. If we put the Branch thing together, like I was just saying, that's no earlier than week 1. He could be, ramping up into camp, but not going to start a game until later in the season. Branch, I'm not concerned about. It's the whole Kirby thing that I was concerned about. He is coming up on, mid-October will be a full year. And that would be it's a ton of time already. Like if he had an Achilles, he could be almost back. If he had an ACL, MCL, PCL, or all 3, he could almost be back right now. But none of that happened that we know of. What we know of is that Dan said it was wear and tear, and that the wear is the problem. So that's concerning. When reporters asked Campbell about the evaluation of McLaughlin and the competition that has obviously been created now with Cade May's injury, obviously they did get to evaluate the value of having Juice Scruggs out there yesterday, but having, Dan's, confident, obviously, with having what we have for backups. I didn't hear any mention of them out looking, but at cuts, man, if a center becomes available, if a center guard becomes available, I wouldn't even be surprised if they brought in another guy, depending on the development of McLaughlin. And I'm not saying beat another guy that's going to come in and start. I'm saying grabbing another guy because it sounds like, Mays is going to be down for a while, so he's going to be placed on IR, to return at some point. He'll be gone for at least the first 4 weeks of the season, but it's going to be more than that. So there's a roster spot that has been, opened, and you can add another guy. But you're going to, Scruggs was the immediate backup at the guard position. Frazier has made that competition even better. And so now you need another guy that can fill in, because if you lose 2 guards and you don't have 2 guards, well, you got Barch, you got Frazier. Those are phenomenal backups right now. Barch can play both guard spots, predominantly left, and Frazier can play 4 spots in the line, not named center. You're going to need another guy, but I think you're going to have to bring in a guy that can be another center guard combo. We'll see how that goes after cuts. I doubt that they bring something in right now, and if they did, I think it would be a much bigger addition than just a practice squad type of a guy. They may bring in a body because they need a body, but I doubt that would be at the center position. So, Seth McLaughlin is getting, the immediate opportunities right now. Juice Scruggs remains part of the competition. Obviously, once he gets back, he'll be getting a lot of the reps too. Well, like we said, and like we heard because we couldn't watch the video, Seth McLaughlin had a really good day yesterday for his first day out there, and he's only going to improve. McLaughlin, like I mentioned before, like this is such a huge pickup by Brad Holmes to go out there and find this guy. It was the exact same kind of a plan that I was expecting for that other center. Who was, I can't remember his name right now. I can't remember his name. He was the best overall center in college last year. Getting old. Law. Was it Law? Might have been Law. But either way, there was a center that I think it was Law. But there was a center that ended up, I'll just look it up. I don't want to say the wrong name. Connor Liu. There we go. Connor Liu. Excuse me. So Connor Liu had, similar situation as McLaughlin. Number 1 overall center, leaving college, entering the draft, has a major injury that was going to hold them back. McLaughlin ended up going undrafted because of it. Liu, I believe, ended up getting drafted in like the 5th round or 4th round, if I'm not mistaken, which is nuts that they did that because there were so many centers in this draft. But the Lions snaked this guy. And now they have what was going to be one of the best centers in the draft that could have potentially went in the 3rd round, maybe even the 2nd. And Ohio State has churned out some really good centers and some really good wide receivers and some extremely good linebackers, over the years, and defensive linemen. So that they're stacked, and then those centers are going through a lot. So anyway, we snagged McLaughlin. Like the ceiling is very high. And so the caller that we had about a week ago, Coach Gav, I think is his name. He felt high about McLaughlin. I always felt high about McLaughlin, but not when you have a stacked roster in front of him. Right? It was going to be really difficult for him to make the roster this year with Juice Scruggs in front of him, Myers Frazier in front of him, Barch in front of him. It's going to be really tough. But now that we have an injury, McLaughlin, I feel, is a lock to make this roster. I don't know much about his guard play, but we can find that out another day. The biggest concern I have right now is this whole Kirby Joseph talk. And as far as Luke Altmyer, look, he's going to get a ton of snaps in this preseason games. It's not going to look great. And then again, he could shock the hell out of us and it could look wonderful. We'll see. But I am not banking on Luke Altmyer to come in and just, play extraordinarily well in his first preseason game, not having a bunch of reps. He's getting more, as they do their camp ramp up before the game and do their install before the game. Josh Dobbs is the only backup that we have other than Jared Goff. I'm surprised that the Lions don't bring in another quarterback. Why not? Go find another one. Bring another one in. It's so tough because this roster is so loaded. The receiver room. I am not surprised by this statement by Dan Campbell where he just said that the receiver room is the most loaded, the best receiver room that he has had since he has been there. He's not throwing shade at anybody. He's being real. Like this receiver room is crazy good. And that's why I kept saying it's really tough to cut down to 6. They're keeping 5. How are you going to get down to 6 when some of these guys are making incredible plays, not just in special teams, but some of these guys that have been utilized in the return game, not named Dortch, are playing pretty well, and as gunners playing pretty well, and as blockers playing pretty well. It's going to be tough. I just hope a lot of them can come back to be, priority practice squad guys. We'll see what happens. But the biggest news out of today, Ahmed Hassanin. Again, another guy that is just shining like a bright star out there, making big-time plays. And I love Dan Campbell's statement. You heard me say it, a great statement, because it is so much harder to get a player to ramp up. It's harder to pull it out of a guy, right? Get him going. It's easier to say, I need you to tone it down and do this instead. Look, the freelancing stuff, Aiden did that for his first 2 years in Detroit. He still does it once in a while. Jamison Williams was a big-time freelancer the first couple of years in Detroit, and that was one of the reasons why the chemistry was off a little bit. I think part of it was because of the playbook knowledge, but I think we're well beyond that now, and Aiden has definitely grown into a different direction now. But the freelancing stuff is what can get you in trouble. And so maybe it's a scheme thing that maybe he doesn't really know what he was supposed to do on that play, or maybe if the play breaks down or the play changes or whatever, and he does something different than what he was asked to do, that can happen. And part of that is because he's just so high strung. He's so high energy. He's just trying to make a play, right? Remember what I say? These guys all want to make a roster. They're going to make the big play if they can, or they're trying to make the big play. But Dan Campbell said it a week ago. I don't care if you make the play or do it wrong. That's the problem. I need you to do it right and not make the play. Do it wrong and don't make the play. Well, now you got a double whammy. You're getting 2 negative check marks versus 1. So do it right. Slow it down. Get it right. If you don't make the play, the plays will come. Once you get it right, you build the memory. You rep after rep after rep, you're going to get faster and faster and faster at what you do. The processing time becomes shorter. Love Hassanin, man. He's really playing great. And so for all the people, just like I said last year, they were talking all this smack about Ahmed Hassanin, and you know who they are. What do you got to say now? You think you knew everything about this guy. You think you knew everything about Brad Holmes. Ahmed Hassanin is one of the best edge rushers in this roster right now. He's not polished, but he's one of the best young stars on this roster. It'd be very difficult to keep him off the roster, and I don't think that's going to happen. He's making plays everywhere. Glad to see that he was back at practice yesterday without any limitations. It's awesome. How about Eric Hunter? Another big name. A lot of fans really like Eric Hunter. I like Eric Hunter. As soon as we jumped into breaking down Eric Hunter a little bit when we found out that we picked him up, man, this was a pickup that I thought was going to pay big time for the Lions. The uniqueness of him being a previous safety, being kind of a smaller linebacker, in his ability just to be unique that way. His coverage ability is a lot better, and that's what I like about Hunter. No, he's getting better and better. He had some really rough days through the first week or so, but as the second week is progressing into now what will be the third week soon, he's making more and more plays, and it's that continued development that could land him on the roster, primarily because of his special teams play. Devin White, like Dan just said, that he feels he's back. Paraphrasing, he feels that he's kind of back to where he was when he was in Tampa. That's huge. He was an all-pro. Last year, 174 tackles. He was the hottest thing in Vegas. Well, for Tampa, he helped them win a Super Bowl. His play directly correlated to that defense being able to shut down offenses and win a Super Bowl. If he's back to playing like that, and like they said, they wanted to get his weight down because they want him to play faster. They have obviously a vision in mind for how they're going to utilize him. The biggest concern right now is his coverage. But outside of that, him in the run game, man, I think that is exactly where you're going to see him utilized a lot, at least up front, in the very beginning of all of this. Trying to go back to my channel real quick and see if I can't find. Oh, stop. I don't think I did a video. I don't think I did a video on Eric Hunter. I thought I did. Maybe it was involved in a live stream and I didn't break it out because I sucked at producing content. From all this live content in the morning, just not utilizing it, which we're trying to do now, which, by the way, someone emailed me asking me about, live streams being unlisted. So this is the way it's going to work. I need to make content, right? That is what fans want. And I want to provide good content. If you can't make the live streams, I'm sorry, because some live streams I have to unlist. Number one, because YouTube takes up to 24 hours to process them. Because I'm sending it 4K, it takes that long. The people that are out there doing content at 720p and 1080p, I mean, it's great, but I like 4K. I like my details to look good, and it's been a long time trying to dial this stuff in, and we're very close to having it perfected. YouTube just takes a long time to process all of that data. And so I can't go in and then clip inside YouTube and make new videos as quickly as I want to because it won't let me edit inside YouTube, which means then I have to edit myself in my editing programs. And so it might take me a whole day. It could take me 2 days. So if you can't make the live streams, what I'm going to do, at least for the members, is I'm going to turn it to members only until I get some of the content clipped. When I get the content out, then I'll turn it back on. But the goal is to give you a full live stream to enjoy with the chat. And then the content that I want to pull out of that to give it to everybody to be able to watch. Right? So that's my goal. So if things are unlisted or if it goes to members only, it's not just because I'm trying to force you to buy a membership. That's not it at all. But please do if you want to support the channel. It's only $3.99 a month. But what it does for me is it gives me a little bit of time while YouTube is processing that I can then hopefully get a couple of things out. Sam Laporta video, for instance. What are some other videos that I did out of daily content? I don't know. I've done plenty, but I don't know which ones. So anyway, I guess that's your updates, man, for Dan Campbell. That's your updates for the day. That's your updates from yesterday. I will live stream the game as the plan on Thursday night. We'll see what happens with audio. I haven't received anything that there's an issue. But I also have an NFL media credential, which also gives me access to certain licensing. But I'm going to read through that again today just to make sure I'm not violating anything. I see it, Attila. I'll check emails today. Also, we didn't have as much participation in the free Madden giveaway. So I wanted to announce the first winner on the 9th. And I'm going to scrape it today, and I'm going to get it done. I think we have enough now. We had plenty of comments yesterday, so I'm going to get it done. Remember, you got to participate every week to be involved, every day to be involved. If you want a chance to win, you just need to do 3 things. Either subscribe to the channel or become a member to the channel, and then comment and like the videos and the live streams. The chat doesn't count. The live chat does not count at all. And then on Twitter, go follow the DFJ Sports on Twitter. Like, that is the most important one to follow because that is where I'm going to start putting all of my stuff. Some stuff will get transferred to the other channel, but and then find us on the Facebook. DFJ Sports 1, I believe, is on Facebook. I think that's what it is. Or maybe it's DFJ Sports on Facebook. I haven't done a lot over there, but I'm trying to rebuild it in hopes of being able to get my old Rock Down Detroit Lions channel back, which I built for so long, and now it hasn't had any new content, so it's probably lost everybody. Rather Be Fishing Fred just sent out 5 new memberships. Look at you, buddy. Who got it? Love is All That Matters 09. I like that name. Bob Bagels Fowler. Young Dumbass. What? Young dumbass. What kind of channel name is that? That's hilarious. Young dumbass. Definitely a Lions fan. That's hilarious. K Farr and Gary Gee. All welcome in, man. Appreciate y'all. Okay. I think that's it for today. Did I miss anything? What did I miss about season tickets and not being able to see the field like that? What is that? What did I miss there? What are we talking about? Are you talking about the Bills? What's going on with the Bills? The Bill Stadium? Obstructed seats story? I mean, you're going to have that. You're going to have obstructed views in some stadiums. You just do. I mean, I can't believe that they built a brand new stadium that has obstructed views. That seems like a complete failure. But there are some stadiums that you have obstructed views. And it is what it is. And I don't think I'm trying to think, like Soldier Field, when you get up on like the decks, like there's some decks around Soldier Field, there's some seats that I want to say it's right underneath it that has some obstructive view, but the field's been there forever, right? They didn't think about obstructed view back then, but they do now. I would be surprised if there's really obstructed view. They haven't even played a game there yet. You know, how do we really know? I don't know that we do. I mean, you might have, and what could possibly be in your way? I haven't looked it up though either. I just don't know how there would be an obstructed view. Here we go. Here's what Yahoo Sports says. After years of anticipation, the Buffalo Bills officially opened their new $2.1 billion Highmark Stadium. It was supposed to be a showcase for 60,000 seat stadium. Ended up stirring a social media reaction about what fans weren't seeing. Photos from the blue and red practice went viral over the weekend, showing seats throughout the stadium with an obstructed view of the playing field. It included upper deck seats with views blocked by overhangs. There were also stairways with plexiglass barriers that seemingly blocked entire sections of the field. Even fans seated in certain lower level areas had to deal with limited views. Yeah, some of the stuff is going to be normal. I'll tell you right, my experience out at New Orleans or Santa Clara, San Francisco Stadium. I mean, thankfully, I was in the front row on the second bowl. Right, I was right in the front row, and so we had great seats. But like you see this right here with this guy on the left in the yellow shirt, that obstructed view is probably from the first, second, or third row. Like what is obstructed about it? You can still see the field, but yeah, if people are walking in your way, you're going to have an obstructed view. But here's the thing, like during the game, most, like even at Lions games, most of the ushers are well aware that when a play is happening, you're not allowed to go to your seats. You have to wait until the play is done, and then you can go to your seats. And most people that have the understanding, that have been to a game before, they know not to intrude on someone's vision of the game while the game is happening. Now, it doesn't mean that, when the play ends that you're going to have a lot of time, because you don't. You have less than 30 seconds typically to get to your seat, and it could take some people a little bit longer than that. But yeah, that plexiglass there, or that glass barrier going up the stairway, and I don't see any big, because it's an open air stadium, which I think was the biggest mistake. Okay, so picture 2 on the right, you can see in the lower bowl that they're sitting behind the deck that comes out to the right of them, which is more than likely some level of a club seat, I would assume. Well, let's be real here. You're sitting up in the upper decks in this bottom picture on the bottom left. I mean, you're up in the frickin', Eagle's crest. You're going to have some restricted view. Like, you're not paying extraordinary amounts of money to go sit there. If you want to go see the game, you ain't going to sit there anyway. But there's like 8% maybe or 5% of the field block. That's it. It's the second half of the end zone down there. And looks like you have a screen that's off to your right. I don't know if there's any other ones. And then again, that picture on the bottom right, same thing. You're sitting up in the nosebleeds. Don't sit there. Don't buy those tickets. Be aware of where you're sitting. Here's what the bill said. But it is, I do agree that is a breakdown. Like that stuff shouldn't exist. They should have made that a standing room only and then put a little deck out or something right there. But I wouldn't say that I understand how to build a stadium either. So it says, thank you, Bills Mafia, for setting a new attendance record with more than 50,000 fans. At the return of the blue and red, Saturday's practice was a great opportunity to test the new stadium. We are currently addressing internal and external feedback regarding the facility's operation following the first event. We will utilize the next 6 weeks to refine any details as we prepare for the home opener on September 17. So that's kind of a cheap answer, but whatever. I guess that's your NFL news update of the day. We didn't do any of that today. That's it, man. I got to roll. We'll see y'all later. You have a great rest of your Tuesday afternoon. Let's hope that the Lions remain healthy today and that Seth McLaughlin can continue to lead this offense. It sounds like they had a good day yesterday. Not a lot of breakdowns, so we'll see how it develops. Y'all take care, man. Go One Pride, go Detroit Lions. Keep being the best fans in the world. Staying right here with Rock Down Detroit Lions. Make sure you like, hype, subscribe on your way out, and we'll see you guys later.